he sat down at the right hand of God. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, author and perfecter of our faith. La-di-da, da-di-da. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, author and perfecter of our faith. La-di-da, da-di-da. Who for the joy set before him endured the cross and scorned its shame. Who for the joy set before him endured the cross and scorned its shame. And he sat down at the right hand, making peace with every man. Yes, he sat down at the right hand of God. Who for the joy set before him endured the cross and scorned its shame. Who for the joy set before him endured the cross and scorned its shame. And he sat down at the right hand, making peace with every man. Yes, he sat down at the right hand of God. And he sat down at the right hand, making peace with every man. Yes, he sat down at the right hand of God. Of God.
That was Brenda Janz with Fix Your Eyes on Jesus, taken from her album Songs for Freedom. That was beautiful. This is Journeys in Melody, and welcome. We have as our guests Philip and Brenda Janz from Mission, British Columbia, Canada. Hi, hello, and welcome to Journeys in Melody. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, you're welcome. Great to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having the family here. Philip, who is a producer, arranger. You have so many titles. You can talk to me about that later on. And Brenda, you're singer and you are a songwriter as well. Tell us about Brenda, who Brenda is. And then Philip, you can take it after her.
I am originally from Nova Scotia, and as a kid, I always really loved music and really enjoyed singing and playing around with melodies. I mean, I listened to a lot of music as a kid. I was born in '64, so 60s, 70s, all of that. James Taylor. I have lots of influences. I used to listen to my sister's records mostly because she was 2 years ahead of me. So she would buy all the music and then I would sneak it onto the record player when she would go out. I would listen to all her music. But I didn't really have any formal music training. Like I didn't learn an instrument as a kid. That didn't happen until much later when I was living overseas. And I picked up a guitar and just started learning. And then shortly after that, I started writing. So yeah, that's kind of my journey. And always crazy about just melodies and lots of different genres, mostly folk, country, pop, sort of, yeah.
How about you, Philip?
I was born into a family that everybody was singing. So it's just the kind of somewhat of a Mennonite trait, I suppose. Everybody sings in a choir or something like that. So, and at a very young age, my parents moved to Germany, and so I grew up there. I spent my entire childhood in Germany. My dad had a quartet that he sang, and it was and eventually that became like a band with the drums, the bass guitar. It was a bit controversial because they were part of an organization that my grandfather and his brother started called Janz Team. So Janz Team was kind of what became a movement to just share God's love with war-torn German-speaking Europe shortly after World War II, with with music and perhaps something, a word or whatever. So, but then my parents or my dad, they didn't want to do the quartet thing anymore, so they wanted to have a band. It was called Deliverance, and it did quite well actually. But I was immersed in song, and I started playing piano at a very young age, and drums as well, and of course I sang. And then eventually, I took trumpet as well in school. So yeah, and then eventually I made my way back to Canada when I was, I'm going to say 21. So that was 1991, I believe.
With that background, when did you start doing arranging and producing?
I got into recording music. My first recording I did actually was already when I was in grade 12. So I was recording, and then with that came just arranging the stuff. But I really got into it actually then when I moved back to Germany. I started working for a sound company. This would have been 1988, 89, with my dad, and we set up a studio in the basement of this really fairly established light and sound company. And it was there where I just started to record a lot of my material, and my dad would help me and just cut my teeth just recording stuff. And people seemed to really, well, not seemed, people really liked it. That's kind of where, and then with that was also the engineering part, sound engineering.
So Brenda lays down her voice and then you do the rest. Is that how it works?
Well, it's kind of like that. I mean, I write songs, like traditionally what we've done is, and Philip does some co-writing with me, but I do a lot of writing, and then we go into the studio, and Philip has he, as a producer, he just sees the bigger picture of how the songs flow, and the producer is choosing the instrumentation, and he's also a gifted arranger, so he's making arrangements for the songs, and we're, that part we're kind of doing together too. Like I listen to them and I say, yeah, that's great, or maybe we could do this or that or whatever. So it's collaborative, but he does the grunt, most of the studio work. He'll basically do himself behind the table and get the musicians in and record them all and spend time getting the right arrangements down and the right instrumentation and how it's going to be voiced. Philip basically does that. So
yeah. So that folk rootsy sound, did it come naturally to you, or did you practice to have that sound?
No, I think that's just how music comes out of me. Like I didn't take a course or do anything special. It's kind of, everybody has their way of expressing themselves, and that's how it comes out of me. So the first recording actually that I did, I was living in Hong Kong and working with a Christian organization there, working with the poor, and we did some, can't remember if it was a CD or just some songs. I remember going into a studio and we recorded some stuff there. That was like the first. And then when I moved back to Canada, I got involved with the Vineyard Church, and the worship leader there was also Brian Dirksen. He's also a friend of ours, a good friend of ours. Philip has produced lots of music for him. They were doing some of their first albums through the vineyard there, and I got involved with that, and I sang on some of those, and it's just been sort of ongoing from there.
Did you find out early that you were both interested in music, that you were both musicians? How did that happen?
Well, we actually
We had no choice.
we met at a rehearsal for an event that we were both involved in, and Brian actually asked Philip to come and help him direct the music and be sort of help him with the arrangements. And Brian had met him, and I had already been singing with Brian for some years already. So we were both in the same room, and the band, we were there and rehearsing for this event, and we met each other in the room. And then we went, it was in Whistler. So then we went up to Whistler for a week to do the event together. So we met, and
We got along.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, nice. And did you decide initially you're going to work together on music projects, or did that just come naturally?
That just came out of our relationship. Yeah, we weren't, it was more like, I like you, you like me. And music was kind of it was a fairly short thereafter, it all kind of happened. But we met, and from the time we met to the time we got married was 9 months. So we just, it all kind of happened fairly quickly.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And so you have children.
Yes, we have 4.
4 kids. Are they involved in music at all?
I would say they're all creative in their own ways. Our boys, our first 2 boys, 27 and 26 and 25. They're both very musical. The first one plays drums and sings and just has a very creative musical edge to him. And then our second boy, he also sings, and he's very musical, loves music, doesn't play an instrument, but did dabble with the piano when he was younger and played a little bit of a guitar. He's been learning guitar. So, yeah. And then our younger 2 kids, actually our youngest is taking piano lessons. I don't know what's if that's going to carry on or not. And then our daughter, she's in between them all there. She's 17. She loves music, but doesn't play or sing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's very good. So maybe later on we'll have a family project. Who knows? How would you describe your songwriting process?
Something gets under my skin most of the time. Like I have this something either bothering me or something that I really feel deeply about, and I ponder it and I think about it, and then I'll often think, as I'm thinking about that, I'll just have a phrase or a melody come to me and pertaining to this issue, and then I just sit down with my guitar and I go from there. I just play the phrase and think about the issue that I'm thinking about, and then start to create from there.
Philip, how does your writing process work?
I wrote songs when I was younger, and it was definitely more kind of more like melodic driven. So I would get a lot of my ideas basically of just of a sound or of a melody, and then
a groove or something like that.
Yeah. And so words became much more important and meaningful to me as I got older. Like early on, it wasn't such a big deal for me. It was like whatever.
It doesn't matter what you say. It's the groove.
Obviously, when Andrew and I, when we had a band, we wrote stuff together, but yeah, that's so I've spent over the many years helping people with their songs, just kind of pushing them to think about their lyrics often. Are you what's this here? Does this make sense? What's the point of your song? Does the, so, and then sometimes I'll, if they want, or it would be helpful, because I often have ideas or whatever, but obviously I don't want to butt in on one hand, but I want to help make the song the best that it can be. So then I'll, like for instance, with Brenda, she has amazing stuff that just goes on inside of her, and so much of this, the core of a song is just there, and it's incredible. And then there's certain things like melodies, or where I feel like, okay, we could maybe kind of push out a little bit in certain ways, and just kind of so then I'll do that. And then also just with her, and also many other artists, just help to tweak lyrical, not so much with Brenda, because she's a incredible lyricist, really. So there's very little that we talk about lyrically. I do that more with other people, but not so much with you.
It's more like you as a because you're so accomplished in the instruments you play, and your music sense is so good, you can always tell when you hear a song that's working or that's not working. And so you help people make their songs work.
Exactly.
Right?
Work better.
Yes, work better. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You are singer, songwriter, and you're lyricist, and you're a producer. You just explained some of the producing process. Does that factor into how your kids view you, or you're just mom and dad?
Probably just mom and dad.
Yeah, I don't think
mom and dad.
I guess we'd have to ask them, but I think
they've been to shows before, and they've seen us both perform, obviously, over the years. I've heard many times, "That was great, Mom," or "Yeah, I really enjoyed that," or whatever. We've done, actually, earlier on, we did a lot of touring when they were younger, and they weren't so much involved. That was a different sort of stage of life. We toured in Europe, and we
that was with Brian.
Yeah, but I think we're not like big rock stars, and so it's not like our kids have the opportunity to sort of view us differently. And because we're always with them, and life is so, we have our feet on the ground, really.
Yeah.
So I think it's sort of like, for them to get an other view of us would be difficult.
Is there a particular moment when you write something and you say, aha, this is really good?
Yeah, I think once I have an idea and I push into it, I can sort of tell, like, I think this is a good idea, and I think this is going to go somewhere. And depending on how much of inspiration I have, I know whether it's going to be like, this is going to be weeks of work, or sometimes there's just this rush of inspiration, and you go, I think this is basically, I have the song. I need to tweak it, change the lyrics, but I think I have the form of the song, and the song vision is basically here. So it can be like, you get an idea, and then it's going to be, I have this idea brewing, and I have part of the song, but I know it's just going to take time crafting this, and I need to spend hours or however long. Or sometimes you get an idea and a lot of it is there, and you're like, yeah, I like this, and you're excited about it. And so it can come in all shapes and forms,
You're a local talent. You are in the Lower Mainland of BC.
Yes.
What has the reception been like in Mission or the wider BC?
Well, when we've done things, it's been received well. Like, I opened for a friend of mine at the Clark Theatre in November, and that went really well. Like, a lot of people commented afterwards. I really enjoyed the songs. I mean, obviously I was playing from songs from Way of Life, which is the newest album, which is coming out in March here, just really soon. And I mean, we haven't done a lot just because family life is very busy, but we do frequent the local prison every 2 weeks, and the guys there are always really happy to see us, and we really enjoy sharing music with them. And yeah, so I think we get a good response for what we do.
That's very nice. Is there a lot of back and forth between you and an artist, or do they trust what you suggest?
A lot of it,
artist,
yeah, it depends on the artist, but a lot of it is a trust factor for sure. I mean, depending who the artist is, everybody's a little different, but I'll kind of create a kind of a framework initially to go, okay, this is kind of what I'm thinking. It's not uncommon, especially if the artist is local, that we just kind of initially the artist may play something in while we're at the studio, and just a basic kind of thing. And then I just start fleshing it out and looking at different options of how the drums might sound or what kind of a vibe. And so obviously it's not like it's collaborative in the sense that, if they just don't like something, or something's not working, then then we'll talk about it. But it's definitely a trust thing as well, like for sure, because a lot of people don't necessarily know, oh, is this the final product, or is where, like, it's not there needs to be that kind of trust factor
the whole production process there's many layers to it. So if you're just a singer songwriter and you've never been in that process before, then you can feel like, well, is this what it's going to be? Like in the process, and you have to say, no, actually, we are on a journey, and this is becoming something, and it is not yet there. And you need to trust me when it sounds like something maybe not finished.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask you this then. What's the high point? What's that happy place when you're doing your work? That you're in the booth and you're recording, or you have the material in front of you and you're working on it to get it right? What's that high point?
Well, for me, I think I really like being in the studio. I love when a song is finished and I'm happy with it, and I can look back on all the different versions it's been, and all the ways it's come to where it is, and I'm happy with the song, and then I just get to sing it. And there's no pressure, there's no audience, I'm just there, and I can just just give it all I have. And I really enjoy that part of it very much. And I like the idea that people will hear it, and that hopefully I can share something good. That's that keeps you going, as an artist.
Definitely, like with when I've worked on arrangements. In a recent situation, I just came back from Ontario. I was doing some additional overdubs over there. I recorded some stuff here, but then I flew out to Ontario for an artist who lives there, and we used several musicians there locally. So I've created parts for cello, for English horn, for oboe, the piano, and then so when you start laying those things down and you see how they're just interacting with each other and how they're working, that's definitely
it's exciting.
That's exciting. Yeah. In my case, I'm laying the drum tracks down, and then the bass player adds his thing. And then I think the high point then is when we've got all those pieces together, and then you're finally actually mixing it, and that's rewarding for sure.
Yeah, lovely. How long does it take you from getting a song to a complete track?
How many hours? Or because I mean, it just depends on I'd have to look at. I mean, I'm going to say per song, including just working on pre-production and then tracking and then mixing and all that, I would say per song it would maybe 6 full studio days per song, which is fairly intense.
Yeah. You're tracking.
Yeah.
And
But
it
that's
kind
not
of
all in a
depends
row.
too.
That's not all just in a
If you could do it all in a row,
yeah, but
then
it doesn't happen like that.
That doesn't happen for you
Yeah.
because you have other things always happen.
And also you do this, and then you get someone to do that. They have to come in,
Right.
and then this goes to, that's an E session, so that's going to England, so that's got to go there, and sort of a lot of,
it depends on when things get back to you, and also it depends on the track how big the track is too. Like the more every time you add an element, okay, there's a string section, there's there's this, there's that, then you're adding time because all of it has to be done properly.
You're arranging.
Yeah.
What's one of the most memorable experiences you've had on a tour or from a performance, Brenda?
Oh boy. Well, there's just been so many experiences. I really enjoyed touring, like when we were younger. That was really wonderful to bust through Europe and to just go to so many towns and places that we wouldn't be leisurely traveling through otherwise. That was really special, I think. And it's just a privilege to be able to be in different parts of the world doing music. Like, it's kind of like, who does that? Other people do that, but then when you do it, it's like you realize what a gift it is to you that you've been able to manage that, right? I think the ongoingness of it is very special, that I can still do it, and I still want to do it, and I still have some options where I can share music. Just that fact to me feels like, wow, that's special.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
because
very nice.
Things don't always last a long time,
Yeah.
You don't always, you don't always start writing music and keep performing for a long time. Not everybody does that. So, yeah.
Your latest album, Way of Life, one of the songs is Mama's Courage.
Yes.
Talk to us. I'm going to play that song, but can you tell us how that song came about?
Yeah. I was thinking about my mom. She raised my sister and I on her own. My dad was not in the picture as she was raising us. And I think I was actually doing a little bit of research. I was looking at she had been talking to me about the place she went. It happened in Nova Scotia. The place she went when she was very young, she was kind of sent away by her parents to have her baby. She was going to have a baby, and she was not yet married. And so she was going to a convent, and she was meant to give her baby up. And we were talking about that whole experience. And I was actually looking online at some of the older buildings and some of the places. And I was like, I think I actually found the place, and I was looking at the building, and I was thinking about her experience. And then I started writing this song about how she had gone, ended up having my sister and keeping her and bringing her home. And that was the beginning of our family. But yeah, that's how the song was inspired, just by thinking about her courage to do what at that time, a long time ago, like 62 years ago, that was not what you did, but that's what she did. And I was just thinking about, very gratefully thinking about how courageous she was as a young girl, and that's where the song came from.
Wonderful. I'm going to play that song, then we'll come back and we'll talk some more about some other things.
She fell in love young, not knowing much about what love really was. On her first date, got carried away in a swirl of emotion and no rush. Collision of feelings picked her up and tossed her to the ground. When she came to, all she wanted to do was run away from her hometown. There was honor to save and a reputation to keep, parents to please, and a heart full of fear at 17. How could one train ride feel like a lifetime, like it would never end? And every day a new prayer to pray in the home for girls unwed. When it was time for the babe to arrive, a woman was also born. The shame that she carried melted away as she discovered what love was for. There was honor to save and a precious babe to keep, parents to please, and a heart full of love at 17. Be grateful for her courage. She's my mama too. She gave her all, though life's not perfect. Her love carried us through. My sister and I have come to realize, though we were never well off, her patience and kindness daily remind us what she gave can never be bought. There was honor to save and a reputation to keep, parents to please, and a heart full of love at 17. Honor to save and a reputation to keep, parents to please, and a heart full of love at 17. Still a heart full of love in her 70s.
That was a beautiful song. That was a homage to mom.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was lovely. You could feel
Thank
everything
you.
that you poured into that song, and
Thank you.
the music was lovely as well. That is one of the songs from the upcoming album. What can we expect from the album, and where can persons find it when it's released?
Well, so far we have released, you can go on Apple Music and hear
Good to Be Alive.
Good to Be Alive, a
That
track
came
that we
out
did
in November.
That was out in November. And Hardworking Man, which is a song that I wrote this guy here. And now Mama's Courage.
Oh, we had a third song.
Lovers First.
That's right, for Valentine's.
Yes, for Valentine's Day. That's also
okay.
out there. So those songs, and now Mama's Prayer will be out. Mama's Courage will be out on Friday. So there is a taster of the album.
4 songs.
4 songs that people can listen to. Apple Music, Spotify. They're just out there. And the rest of the album, it's been quite a journey writing there's a song that I wrote for my boys, my grown-up boys, and for my younger son, and just for just the journey of life. That, you know, it's the way of life. It's about, there's song about grieving, song about loss, just moving through life, learning things. It's very rootsy and acoustic. And this last song here that Philip, that you just played, Mama's Courage, that instrumental part, I have to say, so beautiful. Those were all him playing the whistles. He did that arrangement for whistles
Right.
and played them all, and it just turned out so nice.
Mhm.
It was like I don't know, I just thought the instrumentation was so fitting to the song. And yeah, so 14 songs on the album, lots of music, and we're very happy with it.
Beautiful. And I love how the instrumentation just fit the emotions behind the song. It was
Mhm.
nicely done, Philip. It was nicely done. I love
Yeah,
that song. Um,
Thank you.
yeah.
will there be a launch for the album?
Now, when you say launch, you mean like
Are you having a
party
backyard
or a
party,
concert or
or
something like that?
yeah, party or a concert, or what? How are we going to
Well,
do
we
it?
did actually. That was in what we did was we had the CD ready to go. Like we actually made physical CDs, and so that was kind of like the debut of
the soft
use
launch.
of those of the CD. Now we hadn't done any release yet of the music digitally.
Yeah.
But that was just that was what we worked towards, because this other artist who I've worked with had said, well, it'd be great. Brenda's been working on this album. You know, it's been over a period of quite some time.
So we did introduce it there. It was at the local Clark Theater, and
Yeah.
and it was pretty full. There was like,
Mhm.
you know,
I
some
think it was
500 people there,
600 people that were
and
there.
it was
Yeah.
a good evening. And
Yeah.
we did manage to sell some CDs, and
Yeah.
so we're just kind of slowly. There's probably not going to be like a big bang at any point,
But that's why we're doing all this, is
but we're slowly releasing.
doing singles,
singles.
and then we'll have the actual launch of the entire album March 21st, I believe.
Yeah, the whole thing will be available digitally then, so anybody can listen.
I've heard a lot about the music, how you work together, and how well things come together. Can you talk to us about some of the challenges you faced and how you've overcome those challenges?
Well, I think our biggest challenge is time, because we are so busy with family, and because Philip produces, that's his job. He always has a lot of artists, or other artists waiting or ready to start something or whatever, or there's projects, or he's doing some live sound somewhere, or so that he's very busy with his job. So I kind of, when I'm doing an album, we fit it in between all the paid jobs, because no one's paying us to do our music.
Mm,
We fit it in. And so time is probably the biggest challenge that we have, is finding the time.
So then we'll do like,
and then
we'll go away. We'll literally
Yes.
spend money to go to some Airbnb type of place where we can then just be quiet, and then also just play the songs, and
I'll play you new
Yeah.
songs I've been working on, and
Yeah.
you'll listen, and then
So we've done that literally
we've done that numerous times.
We've done that for years. Even
Yeah.
your previous album, 12,
Yeah.
13 years ago, we would do that.
And
So
then
that is the
we
challenge,
have
yeah.
to, when it comes down to being in the studio together, I have to make sure that because our youngest son is 10, so he's not really old enough for me to leave 9 to 5 in the studio for 3 or 4 days in a row, so we can track both. He has to be busy with something in a camp, or we have to make arrangements for all of that. So, and there's always, there's a house, and there's laundry, and there's life. And so it's just time really that is the most challenging for us, I think.
And then, of course, those are the things, though, that make the
Yeah,
songs.
that's
though,
why we write songs, is
Yeah.
because of our lives. So
because of the challenges.
you need them, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's lovely. Are there any artists that you see out there or that you know? You mentioned Brian Dirksen. Is there anyone you look forward to working with?
Um, well, I love Bonnie Raitt. And if I could ever, I mean, it's kind of like silly to think, oh, I'd love to work with Bonnie Raitt,
Who
because
doesn't?
like who wouldn't really? But she's really inspired me. Her music and just her whole vibe and the way she's chosen to dedicate her life to her music and the choices she's made and music wise, I love her music. So yeah, she would be someone.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Um, what would you say to someone who is aspiring to do music? Maybe they don't have the background that you have, or in general, what is your advice to that person?
I would say find a community of people who are somewhat like-minded that you can learn from and you
Mm,
can grow in. Find if you're a songwriter, find other songwriters. If you're if you play an instrument, find musicians that you can learn from and find a place where you can in a safe way learn your craft and challenge yourself with people who understand what you're going to be facing. I would say that would be my advice.
hmm And Philip,
Um,
you're into producing, right? We always hear about. We know what Brenda does. We hear the voice, we see the face, we know it's her singing, but then we don't know what happens after she's done laying down her voice. Somebody wants to get into music production. What advice do you have for that person?
someone who wants to get into music production. Yeah, I mean, it's not the kind of thing that you just sign up for and say, okay, now I'm a teacher. Now I'm going to teach at such and such a school because there's an opening here or here. It's kind of a strange thing a little bit with someone getting into production. Quite frankly, it's in my case, I was just doing it. I was creating arrangements and just recording I think when an opportunity, I mean, things have changed a lot since when I first started. I mean,
Yes,
now
yeah.
things, back then there was no social media at all, zero. There was no internet, so it was like, there were artists. It's like, okay, well, how do I get started? Well,
You start.
you start by singing and playing. You go play at these places to see if
Yeah.
people resonate with what you're singing, and
Yeah.
then you could just somehow hope that somehow some sort of record company would be able to
But
do
there
something.
is,
But
I mean,
that's
I would say you can pursue education too. Like if you really are gifted in an area of production or arranging, or like you went
yeah,
to school for a
for a year I
year
went
and
to
it really helped you ground you in
yeah.
arranging and your theory and your music. And I
Right.
think that's always a good thing to do, is put yourself in that kind of community where you're going to learn your skills and understand what does this mean, this world that I want to get
and you're with
into.
other musicians and
Yes,
other
exactly.
teachers who've been in the business.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
helpful thing
helpful.
too. But nowadays, of course, I mean, there's just never ending plethora of people now online, but it is a space where you can
Yeah.
potentially be heard. But
Hmm.
like Brenda said, the community, and you can
This
find
is
that community
important.
also by doing some education as
Yeah.
well. The education isn't going to get you the job
Necessarily.
necessarily. It's
Mm,
like you could, if you don't have that intuitiveness about it and that creativity, education isn't going to get you there, but
But
it definitely.
if you do have the gifted,
Yes.
and if you are gifted and you do have
Hmm.
something to truly bring to it, I think if you put yourself in the way of the music and just walk through the doors that open,
Yes.
in front of you, however small, insignificant they may seem. Just walk through them and keep walking through them and see where it takes you. Stay on the move in the way of the music and see
And
where
you're
it
doing it
takes you.
because you love it.
Yes.
You have to do
Hopefully.
it because you love it.
Yes.
And then you just keep going. You can keep going then. And then perhaps just maybe some people might actually be able to monetize it.
Yeah.
But if
So you're both from the era of there was no social media, no internet.
Yes.
Now we have all of these things. How does the change in technology, social media, etc., impact your music?
Thankfully, I feel like it's shifting again, but we lost the beauty of storytelling. Definitely, albums disappeared, and it was just about like a song here, a song there. So I think what's happened though is people are starving for a story, like a good book. So I think a lot, even the younger people now are like, I want to have this experience again of the story that you have.
Not just like random singles all the time, but actually I want to listen to an album. I want to hear the flow. I want to find out who's playing the bass. I want to see some credits. I want to dig into this music. I think people are more turning towards that again.
Yeah.
And we kind of lost that a little bit.
Oh, did we ever?
Like producers, if you look on albums, you have to look to see who produced it. It never just shows up. You always see the face of the artist who sings or the band or whatever. But it was always in the past, you had to search. And then it became almost impossible as technology or the whole music business changed and it became, just digital.
I mean, it's changed in one sense that, it's much harder on one level to make money doing it because the way you sell the product it is a physical product now. People are selling at their shows, but that piece got lost. And so, but the thing is that people we need art, we need beauty in music and in storytelling and in paintings. I think people are just wanting to do it, even if they can't make a whole bunch of money doing it, because we need to do it.
And we're made to do it.
We're made to do it.
Like in one way or another, everybody is creative. Even if you're not in touch with that, we all have something. And so it comes out of us. And it's going to, whether we make money doing it or not, I mean, hopefully we can. But it does, that's the way we were made, to be creative. So yeah.
Let's say I have a song, I write a song, and that's all I have. What do I do next?
Would be, what's the goal?
What's your goal?
What do you have the song? What do you want to do with it? What is your hope for the song?
So that's the first question. Like,
you'd have to be able to answer that. Do you want it to be on the radio? Do you want to just make us a digital copy of it so you can send it to your friends? Would you like to
are you even
go on tour?
Do you want to,
what is it you want to do? First, you have to have your goals defined. Like, what am I doing with this? And then you can take steps in that direction.
And get it, of course, in social media. Influencing, I suppose.
Oh my goodness.
So Philip, someone comes to you with a song, but you probably don't think the voice is ready. What advice do you give to that person?
I think anybody who's coming to me, there's always something there that I can
work with.
And generally, I mean, I've never worked with someone who's like, hey, I want to spend this money, but by the way, hey, I can't sing really. I mean, I've worked with some people, some in Europe more so in the past, where it's like, okay, this is you're not a great singer. This is not, but they had a following. They had a message. They had something different.
And you're also a very good vocal coach.
Yes.
And because you're an arranger, you could take the song and say, okay, this person maybe is not a great vocalist, but we can still produce the song and get the song out there in this way. Like, we can have someone sing the second verse. We can focus on your strengths, and we can still produce the song, but maybe it wouldn't be in the way they necessarily envisioned it, but it could still be done. you know.
Yeah. Finally, are there any milestones that you are looking forward to personally or in music that you'd like to share?
I think, like I said before, just I think this album kind of is a milestone for
Yeah.
me, way of life, because
Mm,
some of the songs I started writing over 10 years ago, and because of the busyness of life and changes and just things happening in our lives, we didn't
mm,
really pursue it. But I feel like this album for me, I've just written really about life. And it's been important to me to just write songs that are for anyone, anywhere, anytime, and it's accessible, regardless of race or religion or whatever. That it's just songs that anybody can just
Access.
really, yeah, it can be their voice
Yeah.
for whatever it is, and they can access and they can enjoy it. And I think with this album, I think I've done that, and
Yeah.
I'm really
amazing.
quite happy about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about you, Philip?
I mean, for Brenda, for sure, with her material, just being able to push through to actually bring this to life, because it takes a lot of
work.
a lot of self motivation to say we're going to make this happen,
Mhm,
because and so that is definitely a big thing.
Many more
Yeah.
hours for you than
Yeah.
for me.
Mm,
Yeah.
Really, like many more. Like Philip has spent probably,
Oh.
5 times as
Yeah.
many hours as I
Yeah.
did writing. He's spent arranging and dreaming about, okay, how this sound, and mixing the album. Like every song has to be mixed and then mastered, and it's just hours and hours of listening and listening and listening, and it really is a labor of love.
Yeah.
And
And and so that's a milestone for sure. I mean,
yeah,
and there are other ones too that I've had in my life that I've been very, very grateful and happy
yes,
with
to have contributed
having
and
contributed with
made
other,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying then.
yeah, that's amazing. I want to thank you both so much for sharing so openly with me about the music and your life and everything and your journey. Really, you mentioned journey, and this is Journeys in Melody. And I'm really looking forward to the album because the songs I've heard so far, Songs for Freedom is a very popular album. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. I really love it. It's very strong.
Oh, good.
Um,
I'm glad you
yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you also for your thoughtful questions.
Yeah, it was very nice to meet you. Maybe we'll see you at White Rock someday, strolling on the beach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You never know.
I'm down here all the time, and once it warms up, we'll be in Mission again. So,
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
Thank you.
we love Cascade Falls, so we always driving up
Oh,
there.
nice. Oh, maybe we'll see you there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much again, Brenda.
Thank you
and
so
Philip.
much.
Thank you.
You
It
have
was
a
great to
wonderful
meet you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Daily reminders what she gave